because of the presence of Atma, so it appears to move. Is it one or many? Actually, it is only one, but through all these conditionings appears as many. That's why you and I and the car and the cat and the dog, they will all look different because of the conditionings. But in reality, it is one, and it is beyond all. It is beyond inside and outside, beyond moving and non-moving, beyond one and many. It is everything. Everything is that. And is it known or unknown? Is it far or near? So Shankaracharya ji says, for an ignorant person, it is far, durastham, very far. And for a wise person, antikechayat, it is so close, it is my own self. So these shlokas are very good for meditation. One can use them. And also the next two that we are doing today, one should learn them, if possible, memorize them. That's what Gurudev says for the next shloka that's coming up. Gurudev says, memorize it and use it for meditation. We should learn the word by word meaning and then memorize this particular shloka that we are going to chant. Ambika, you can please repeat after me. Shloka number 6. Yastu sarvani bhutani.
Yastu sarvani bhutani.
Atmanyevanupashyati.
Atmanyevanupashyati.
Sarvabhuteshu chatmanam.
Sarvabhuteshu chatmanam.
Tato na vijugupsate.
Tato na vijugupsate.
I'll chant together, if you can please mute. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyevanupashyati sarvabhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijugupsate. So we always ask, what is the benefit of getting this knowledge? Why should I try to know Atma? Why should I try to contact Atma, become one with Atma? What is the benefit? So here, these two shlokas today that we will be covering talk about the man of wisdom. Man means man or woman, the person who is wise, who has reached the highest. How does he or she conduct themselves in the world? So yaha means whoever that person may be, young or old, short or tall, male or female, doesn't matter what nationality, what race. Yaha means whoever, tu means certainly, but, however, sarvani bhutani, all beings, atmani eva, in the self alone. It is eva in the shloka, but in the word by word translation, they have done evam. So please ignore that dot. Also in the next shloka, there is a typo, but it is atmani eva, not atmani evam. So that is, so atmani eva, in the atma alone, anupashyati. Anu has many meanings, we'll discuss them, but one of them is constantly sees. Constantly sees all beings in the Atma and Sarva Bhuteshu cha Atmanam. So sees the Atma in all beings, Sarva Bhuteshu, and sees all beings in Atma. So he sees all beings in the self and the self in all beings. So here the self means I, the consciousness. That is the same in all, and all are in that. So when that understanding happens, then what is the benefit? Tataha, then na vijugupsate. Vijugupsate means does not withdraw. Jugupsate means to withdraw, to shrink, to have hatred. Na vijugupsate means not at all. The person does not dislike anybody, does not withdraw from anybody. So this wise person who sees the self in all and all in the self. Bhagavan has covered that few times in the Bhagavad Gita also. So what it means is that everything is in me, the self, and I am in all. It is not that there is some Atma somewhere which is in all and everything is in that Atma, but Atma is my own true nature. So in me, there is everything, in me as the consciousness. And then once you see everything in me, then how can there be any hatred, any jugupsa? How can be any withdrawal? How can I say that that is me and that is not me? I like this person. I don't like this person. That's why Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, Sarva bhutastham atmanam, sarva bhutani chatmani, ikshate yoga yuk atma, sarvatra samadarshana. Same thing, he says, sees all beings in the self and the self in all beings. Ikshate means he sees, but sees as in knows, not sees through the eyes. You cannot see Atma, but ikshate or pashyati, when Bhagavan says, he means knows. Then what happens? Samadarshina. Then he sees the same in all. He does not have any likes and dislikes, any hatred. Also, so that Bhagavan says many places, seeing the same in all, seeing everybody as one. And the source of all is one. There is one undifferentiated Brahman from whom this whole variety has emerged. This whole infinite variety. There are 7 billion humans, none of them resemble each other. And then there are insects and plants and birds and fish. In fact, we are only 0.5% of all creation. 99.5% is non-human. So all is from one. One source, all these effects. That's why Guruji says, all questions, one answer. And one answer, multiple questions. And one, so all questions, ultimately, there is only one answer. Everything in Vedanta comes down to one, the oneness. And everything is me. When I know that, how can I hate? Just as we have covered that many times, a part of my body may be hurting, may be ulcerated, may be giving pain, but I don't hate it. I go to the doctor, takes medicine. Even when the doctor says, cut it off, no, I don't want it cut. Let me go for homeopathic or Ayurvedic or second opinion, third opinion. Why? Because they are all me. So for a wise person, for you and me, we see differences, but a wise person sees everything as he himself. And then once you have encountered that self within, Gurudev says, once you have understood that I am not this body, mind, and intellect, but I am this consciousness, that is very important. That's what they say in meditation, Chidananda Rupaha Shivoham Shivoham. I am that consciousness. Then it is easy to see the one everywhere. Otherwise, it is very difficult. So the example they give is of the ocean, that if I taste one spoonful of the ocean anywhere, in the Pacific, Atlantic, with a spoon, I taste the salty. I come to know the taste of all the oceans because they are all the same. So similarly, when you experience the self within, then you experience the self everywhere. And that is called understanding, that is called wisdom, that is called enlightenment. And then the Rishi uses the word anupashyati. Anu has several meanings, but they all apply here. One meaning of anu is constantly. Constantly, he never falls from his wisdom. That's why he is always established in that wisdom. So that is one, anu. Second meaning of anu is after. So after having heard from the teacher, Shravana, after Shravana, then he does manana and nididhyasan, and then he gets this knowledge. That is second meaning. Third meaning of anu is aparoksha. That means he knows it as his own knowledge, not as somebody else's knowledge. Right now we are studying the Isavasya Upanishad. It is the Rishi's knowledge, one who revealed these mantras to us, or Gurudev Swami Chinmayanandaji's knowledge, who has written this beautiful commentary. But for it to become my knowledge, that is called aparoksha anubhuti. Shankaracharya ji has written a very famous text. So para aksha means through somebody else's eyes. Aparaksha means not through somebody else's eyes, through my own eyes, I have experienced. Recently, when we were in the camp, somebody said, how can I see oneness? She says, I don't see oneness. And we always talk about he always sees oneness or she always sees oneness. As long as I is there, you can never see oneness. If the I, the individual is there, it is impossible to see oneness. One Acharya said, if you see oneness in everything, then you need to have your eyes checked. Go get glasses. Because there is variety. You know, if you see the cat and the dog and the elephant and the lion and the deer the same, something wrong with your eyes. So in the world, you cannot see oneness. As long as I, the individuality is there, you will see the variety, and there is nothing wrong with that. Because if a lion is coming or a deer is coming, obviously your response will be separate, different. But when I know that I am this Atman and the ego has gone, then one experiences the notion of oneness, that there is one alone appearing as many. So that is very, very important. That's why they say, you know, people look for shortcut in Vedanta. You know, I must get the knowledge quickly. So they say there is one shortcut. What is that? Cut the ego. And to cut the ego, it takes many, many lifetimes. So it's not, but so there is no shortcut. You have to go through the whole process to reach the highest. And in that, the experience is there is no other. People say, yeah, you know, I have been hearing this for 20 years. I am that, and I am the oneness. And why don't I experience it? Why do I have this person I don't like, and this person gives me sorrow? Why don't I experience? They say, I have jnanam, but I don't have jnana phalam. I have the knowledge, but I don't have the benefit of this knowledge. I don't have the wisdom. And that is everybody's problem, mine too. So we all have this problem, that we have this knowledge, but we don't have the benefit of this knowledge. And you know what they say? There is a deficiency in you. Like, suppose we have a vitamin deficiency, right? We go for a blood test and he says your vitamin D3 level is very low. Then the doctor will say, take more vitamin D3 or whatever other deficiency. If you have deficiency of calcium or, you know, whatever, magnesium, the doctor will give us. So what is our deficiency that we don't see all of them? Deficiency of sadhan chatushtaya. That comes in every lecture. So if you don't have enough viveka, don't have enough vairagya, don't have shat sampatti, shama, dhamma, etc., and don't have mumukshutvam in enough quantity. We all have mumukshutvam. That's why we are all sitting. But it has to become tivra mumukshutvam, strong. When that strong mumukshutvam is there, Bhagwan himself will send a guru, will send a teacher. Bhagwan himself will manifest. So the desire for liberation has to be tivra. What we have is manda or madhyama. We have little bit. Theek hai, you know, mil jayega to theek hai. Nahi to it's okay, chalega. Or we say, no, I do want it, but I know how difficult it is. But the third one says, whatever happens, I have to have it. I must have it. Like Swami Vivekananda, everybody knows the story where he puts that devotee's head in the water and he asks him, what did you want? He said, I only wanted air. He says, that is how you have to want Bhagwan. You have to want liberation. Then and then alone, you will get it. And out of them, the Acharya says, Shama, Dhamma, and Vairagya is very, very important to develop. Develop control of the mind, control of the senses, and develop detachment. All are important, but these three deficiencies, vitamin S, vitamin D, and vitamin V, Shama, Dama, and Vairagya. And then what will happen is when my mind and senses are controlled and not running here and there everywhere, that's what Bhagavan Shri Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita in the 2nd chapter, Vashehi yasya indriyani tasya prajna pratisthitaha. The man of wisdom, when Arjuna asks, he says, one whose senses are always under his control and do not run out, and his mind also does not run out through the senses. So the essence of that is that there is only one reality, one consciousness, one Atma. Whatever else you see, name and form, is mithya, is unreal, is apparent, but does not have absolute reality. It is there, but it is temporary appearance, just as the mud alone is real. All pots, cups, saucers, plates, everything is unreal. Only one reality is mud, because when the pot breaks, it goes back to mud. Mud is unchanging. Similarly, only one gold is real. Bangle, necklace, all that is unreal. So Atma is real, Nama Rupa is unreal. Whatever names and forms we are seeing is not real. Unreal does not mean I don't see it, but I do not give too much importance to it. Our problem is what? We are so focused on Nama and Rupa, name and form. Starting with my name and form, I am a male, I am Anil. We start with that. And then we see everybody as name and form. This is my spouse, this is my child, this is my friend, this is my enemy, this is my house, that is not my house, this is my... So all names and forms have to be negated. One Atma alone. Atmani eva anupashyati. One who sees this Atma alone, everything in Atma and Atma in everything. So everything in consciousness and consciousness in everything. Then how can he hate anybody? How can he dislike anybody? How can he withdraw from anybody? The moment we say that this person I don't like, or this community I don't like, or this people I don't like, once I reject somebody, somebody rejects me. So if I reject a community, the whole community will reject me. So in my mind, what I have to do is stay established in the truth that I am that. How about all the bad things happening? Nothing I can do about it, right? If I can fix it, I do. Otherwise, somebody is killing somebody and fighting, let them. It's not my world, it's his world. Let him worry about it. Who is killing who and who is bad and who is good. All I do is stay established in the truth, and then whatever is happening, let it happen. Swami Ishwarananda ji said one time, he said, whatever is happening, let it happen. You can't, if you can change it, do it. Otherwise, let it happen. This is a very, very powerful word that it makes this knowledge very clear. So here we have finished verse number 6. Now I will chant verse number 7. Kerry, would you like to chant? You can unmute, please. Yasmin sarvani bhutani.
Yasmin sarvani bhutani.
Atmaiva bhut vijanatah.
Atmaiva bhut vijanatah.
Tatra ko mohaka shokaha.
Tatra ko mohaska shokaha.
Ekatvamanupashyatah.
Ekatvan manupashyatah.
Yeah, please mute. We'll all chant together. Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaiva bhut vijanatah Tatra ko mohaka shokaha ekatvamanupashyataha. So this is similar shloka as the previous one. You say, oh, he already said that. No, but the emphasis is different. There is a different twist upon this shloka. And the reason the Rishi is repeating it, because this is the essence of spiritual knowledge. This is the most important. So these two shlokas, as we said, should be memorized if possible and should be used in meditation. So Yasmin means in whom, in that person. That's the seventh case, singular. Yasmin sarvani bhutani, all beings. Again, he has said in whom all beings. Atma eva. It is eva, not evam. In the word by word, there is a little typo. Atma eva, the self alone. Abhut. Abhut is the past tense of bhava. Abhut means became. Vijanataha. Janataha means he knows. Vijanataha means visheshena janata. He knows completely. He knows clearly. He knows as his own knowledge. That's what we said, aparoksha anubhuti. So one who knows that all beings have become one in that knower, then for such an individual, tatra, then there for that individual, ka moha. How can there be moha? How can there be delusion? And ka shoka, how can there be grief? But it's not a question. It is a statement that one who has this never can have delusion, never can have moha. And we'll talk about that. Why can this person not have moha or shoka? Why? Ekatvam anupashyataha, who sees oneness everywhere. So we say, how is this different from the previous shloka? So there are some subtle differences. So the Acharya says that when you see any particular shloka in any text, you have to do four things. One is know the word by word meaning of the shloka. That is very important. Second is know the essence of the shloka. What is the shloka pointing to? What is indicated? Because the word by word meaning and the indicated meaning could be different. So the indicated meaning, or what is pointed out, what is explained by this. So what is the essence? Then what is the connection of this shloka to the previous shlokas in this Upanishad or in this text? Why has the Rishi given us these? And why has this shloka appeared in this place, in this chapter? So what is the connection of the shloka, not only to the previous shloka, but to the entire chapter? So one should have the essence of the entire Upanishad or the entire scripture or the entire book when one is studying. So each shloka should not be studied in isolation, but studied as a continuity, and see how the Rishi is slowly expanding our vision, how he started from where. That's why we in the beginning try to summarize the Upanishad to see how these shlokas are connected. Same thing in the Bhagavad Gita, how all the chapters are connected to each other. So it says that what is the difference? See, in the previous shloka, it said all beings are in me and I am in all beings, right? Yes, in me, sarva bhutani atmani eva, sarva bhuteshu, in me. Here, the Rishi says they are all me. They are not in me, but they are all me. So there is a subtle difference. One is I am there and in me is everything. No, that is still, then I and in me become two. There's something is in me, like I didn't eat food, then now I eat some dal and sabji, so it has gone in me. but has not yet become me.
Sorry, could you say that again?
So when one understands that I am all, then they are all me. There is no question of in me, they are all me. That is one subtle difference. This other subtle difference is that in the shloka number 6, the negative is given, na vijugupsate, he does not hate. Here it is said positively, ekatvam anupashyata, he sees oneness and therefore he has no moha and no shoka. So the shloka number 6 talked about the negative, that this person does not hate anybody, but here he has spontaneous love for everybody. So one is negative, one is positive, but they both shlokas complement each other and emphasize this situation. So then the Rishi says, no moha, no shoka. Moha means delusion. Delusion means not knowing who I am and taking myself to be something else. So moha arises from what? Avidya. From ignorance, because I have not studied the scriptures, or I may have studied, but I have not internalized the scriptures. Because of ignorance comes delusion. So delusion arises from ignorance, not knowing who I am, I take myself to be something else. And once I take myself to be this body, mind, and intellect, there will be shoka. Shoka has to be there because the body is bound to suffer. If you have a human body, sooner or later, it will give you problems, but that is the nature of the body. Why should I get shoka? Why should I get deluded? Why should I get sorrowful? Yeah, whatever body problem has, let it have. I'll take care of it, take medicine. But inside this person does not have moha, does not have shoka. Does not say, why is it happening to me? Why am I suffering? Everybody's body will suffer sooner or later. So let it be, let it happen, as Swami Ishwaranand, let it happen. Same thing, the mind will have its nature. Mind is not going to stop thinking. You can never stop the mind. That's why in meditation, people say, I want to stop the mind. Mind cannot be stopped. It is the nature of mind to think, just as it is the nature of the lungs to breathe. Can you say, I want to stop breathing? No. So you cannot say, I want to stop the mind. What you have to do is redirect the mind from thinking about the world, start thinking about self. Or in the path of bhakti, instead of thinking about the world, start thinking of Bhagavan Shri Krishna or Lord Shiva. So redirect the mind to the self. So the mind will only think about the self. And then when there is single pointed thought, then the mind itself becomes still, disappears. That's what Raman Maharishi Ji says in Updeshar, that Eka Chintanat Nasha Mityata. Just by one thought that I am the self, the mind becomes Nasha, means loses its reality. So most people in meditation make this mistake of trying, I cannot quieten my mind, I have to fight. You don't need to fight with the mind. The mind is your friend. You just direct it. Like a child is running around, you give him a toy to play with so that the child is not running and creating disturbance. So give the mind this thought. So that is called redirecting the mind. And that's why, so avidya leads to moha, moha leads to shoka. And our goal of life is bliss. But how can I experience bliss? By seeing the oneness and living unselfishly. My life should be a life of service, of giving others, and not seeing any difference. Like a mother has a very naughty child who misbehaves and creates problems. Does the mother hate the child? No. She still loves the child. She tries to correct the child, but she sees oneness with the child. That's what in Sanskrit they say, Dvayat bhayam bhavati. When you see two, then you have fear. But when I see myself alone, am I afraid of myself? No, unless I have some psychiatric issues. But a normal person is not afraid of himself. So I am not afraid of myself. That understanding comes. And then there is no fear. That's what Bhagavan Sri Krishna says. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam chamai pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sacha me na pranashyati. One who sees me everywhere and everything in me, then for him I am never lost. Bhagavan said, na pranashyami. I never get lost to him and he never gets lost to me. So that understanding is very, very important. I recently heard a very nice story. Some of you may have heard portions of it, but it's most beautiful story. So Jnaneshwar, everybody knows, right? So they were four brothers and one sister who were all realized. And their sister Muktabai was actually probably the most advanced out of all of them. You know, they were all, of course, in enlightenment, there is no grade, but she was highly evolved. So it is said that there was a sant called Namdev. Everybody has heard of him. And this Namdev was so advanced that he could see Bhagwan every day. Vithala, used to come to him and would talk to him. And he was all the time talking to Bhagwan. And Bhagwan tells Namdev, you need to go to this satsang where all these saints are gathering. Namdev said, why should I go to satsang? Bhagwan, I already see you every day. I already know it. So Bhagwan says, no, go. I'm telling you, go. So Namdev, instructions from Panduranga Vithala came. So he went. He goes and at the door of this satsang, Muktabai is standing. And what she does, she knocks on everybody's head. So why? It's like in the olden days when the pots were made in the oven, in the fire, the potter would knock on the head and say, ye kacha hai, ye pakka hai. That means this is fully baked. This is still kacha. It needs to be further baked. Ye kacha hai, ye pakka hai. So she would knock on all the saints' head who came and said, ye kacha hai, ye pakka hai. Pakka hai means he knows. Kacha hai means he doesn't know the truth. So Namdev walked. He said, I am already there. And she knocked on his head and she said, ye kacha hai. Namdev said, I am kacha. How can I be kacha? I see Bhagwan every day. She says, no, you're kacha. Go away. You can't come. So he feels very bad. He says, what can I do? So she says, there is a sadhu called Vishobha Kesh, who's in this, he lives half a mile down. Go see him. And he lives in this Shiva temple. So Namdev says, why should I go see this guy? She says, well, you are not yet ready. You are not pakka yet. So very unhappily he goes there and he walks in and there's this Shiva temple, all leaves and branches around. He has a hard time finding it. And then this story, some people have obviously have heard that there was this man lying with his foot on the Shivaling. This is, they said this was Namdev's story, but some people have said this is Guru Nanak's story also, or other saints. But anyway, so this Vishobha Kesh had his feet on the Shivaling and he was lying on the floor. And Namdev says, why do you have feet on God? So he says, okay, you move my feet. Everybody has heard. And everywhere Namdev moved his feet, another Shivaling appeared. And so they say, even now you can see that temple with multiple Shivalings. So Namdev understood the truth. He didn't go back to the satsang. He went home. And next morning, his eyes were closed and Panduranga Vithala appeared. And he says, Namdev, I'm here. Open your eyes. He says, Bhagwan, you have been cheating me all these years. You showed me only that you are outside. I have understood you are inside. Also, actually, you are inside and outside everywhere. So I don't need to open my eyes to see you because I already see you inside. And it is said Bhagwan after that never appeared to him because he had seen him inside. There was no need. That's why in the 10th chapter, Bhagwan Sri Krishna says, Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam, one by this buddhi yogam, he reaches me. So I give this buddhi. So when our desire is strong and Bhagwan sees we need help, he comes either himself or through a saint or through a teacher to give us this knowledge, that his knowledge was still incomplete. He was seeing God outside, but to experience inside, he had to go through this experience. So that is what it says, that once you have this knowledge, then there is no anatma. There is only atma alone. Right now we have this idea that this is atma and this is anatma. This is true and this is untrue. This is real and this is unreal. So we have this difference. But nothing is unreal. Everything is atma. There is no anatma. So that's what they say, that this knowledge will uproot the tree of samsara. That's why in the 15th chapter, we say, asanga shastrena dridhena chitva. Cut this tree of samsara with the axe of detachment. So this knowledge will tell us that there is no samsara. There is no world. World is an illusion. World is an appearance. Atma alone is. And so this knowledge will then free this person from all delusion, all moha, all shoka, all hatred. Then this person lives in eternal bliss, because my true nature is bliss. I am infinite. I am Ananda, but it is through ignorance that I have all these sorrows. So shoka only comes to a person who has not understood the truth. If a person has understood the truth, he or she will accept, yes, body will have problems, mind will have fluctuations, intellect will have confusions, but I am unaffected. So this is these two beautiful shlokas which tell us that one consciousness, how we can see all through the story of Namdev and through all these examples of ocean and pot, which are used many, many times. But it is very important initially through meditation, and then when the eyes open, that there is only one inside and outside, that experience, that one consciousness alone is there. There is no inside and outside. Why do we say inside, outside? Because we have the skin as this barrier. Okay, everything inside the skin is inside and everything outside the skin is outside. But for a wise person, the barrier of the skin disappears, the body disappears, and consciousness alone is inside, outside, everywhere. So this body identification is what is blocking us. The Rishi will tell us in the later mantra about this body identification. So this is where I'll end today. There is one more shloka next week, which will talk a little more about the nature of this Atma, the self. And after that, actually the Upanishad at that point has finished. At the 8th shloka, the Upanishad will finish, but the remaining 10 shlokas are upasanas, are worships, and they will remove our wrong notions. See, there are a lot of wrong notions we have. So the remaining 10 shlokas, the Rishi, out of his compassion, to remove wrong notions and to give us certain upasanas, certain methods of worship. So the other 10 shlokas. So next week, we'll do one shloka about the nature of the self, and then we'll go to what are the wrong notions and what are the different methods of worship, upasanas. So this I will end here today. We have a few minutes. If anybody has any comments, questions, anything you would like to add. Yeah, Carrie, go ahead. Unmute, please.
You know, when you were talking about, you know, when people wondering why, you know, they don't get it, why they haven't seen, you know, Brahman. And I was thinking how, you know, sometimes when you have an appointment or you need to get somewhere and you've misplaced your keys, you know, and it's, and you know, the desperation you have looking for your car keys. And I mean, it's like, you know, you think, oh, where did I put them? You know, what was the last thing I did? Where did I go? You know, you're so concentrated And it's like, we're never that concentrated looking for Brahman as we are looking for our car keys.
Right.
That's all.
True. That's true. So yeah, that kind of, yes, single pointed desire, very strong desire that I am, without it, I am unhappy, I'm incomplete. So knowing that I am incomplete, and only with this knowledge will I become complete. So yeah, thank you. That's a good example. Anything else? Lata, go ahead, please. You can unmute.
I couldn't understand 3 or 4 sentences in the shloka number 6.
Okay.
And that was on page number 114. It explains, one thing is the word jugupsa, if you can elaborate a little more on it. Secondly, here on page 114, he says, jugupsa is the feeling of repulsion caused by a sense of want of harmony between one's own limited self-formation and the context of the external, with consequent recoil of grief, fear, hatred, discomfort, and suffering. It is the opposite of attraction, which is the source of desire and attachment. Repulsion and attraction removed, we have samatva.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful language of Puja Gurudev. Samatva means samatvam yoga uchyate. Bhagavan Shri Krishna says in the Gita, true yoga is to see equanimity, to be equanimous. So vijugupsa is that something I withdraw from because I don't like it. So I withdraw, and that is, you can call it hatred, you can call it fear, you can call it grief, discomfort, that this particular person or this object or this situation, it can be 3. It can be a person, it can be an object, it can be a situation, or it can be a position like a job, So this person, this object, this situation, this position is giving me sorrow. So I withdraw from that, and I have hatred towards that person or towards that object or towards the situation. Why is it happening to me? So I have anger, hatred, fear. So that is aversion. That is vijugupsa. Withdrawal. Jugupsa. Vijugupsa means visheshanam jugupsa, means very clear. Jugupsa is withdrawal. Vijugupsa means complete withdrawal. I have complete dislike for that. So that is not detachment, but withdrawal from things I don't like. And then where do I run? I run towards things I like. I like this, so I want more of it. I must get more of it. So an individual spends his whole life running away from dislikes and running towards likes. Running away from I don't want to running towards I want. And so you are always living a life of incompleteness. Why? Only if this person was not in my life, then I would be happy, or this situation was not in my life. But if this situation came, then I will be happy. So I am running away from what creates problem, and running towards what I like. That's what Gurudeva says, repulsion and attraction. So one has to remain balanced, that in life there will be some things I dislike, some things I like, but I am not going to get my mind internally disturbed. Does not mean that if you like something, you don't go and get it or don't go and eat it, but the craving that without this, I will be unhappy. That is the problem, the craving. It's not that one can live a life like a hermit, isolated from the world. I have no like, no dislike. No, but the intense craving that I must have it, or intense hatred that I can't stand it. See, those intensity has to be reduced, and one accepts all as everything is Bhagwan's creation. Even the person who's giving me sorrow is Bhagwan's creation. So everything, so total acceptance of all situations, samatva. If you can fix it, fix it. If you can't fix it, that's what they say. Now, what cannot be cured must be endured. Not endured as in sorrow, as complete acceptance that it is fine. Even whatever sorrow I am having is fine. It is for my own growth. Bhagwan is
Mhm.
giving me medicine for me to grow. So complete acceptance of everything is called samatvam. And not only acceptance as an unhappy acceptance, as a happy acceptance that I am fine. So first of all, you should get up in the morning and say, I am fine. The day should start with that. Day should end with that. And in the middle, whatever situations come, I am still fine. So that is called samatvam. That's what Bhagavan says. Samatvam yoga uchyate. True yoga is being one, same, sama and same. You know, in English, it is same. So that is the same meaning, that I am the same everywhere. Does that answer your question?
So the word meaning of jugupsa is
Is to withdraw,
withdraw. Okay.
to shrink, to withdraw, to
Okay.
move away. That is jugupsa. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that then that leads to
the word,
hatred.
yeah, hatred is, I feel, such a strong word to use.
Repulsion,
But-
hatred. Yeah, but when do you shrink from something? When you don't like it. And then
That's true.
an extreme of that is dislike, hatred, repulsion. Those are all degrees of
Right.
separation.
So the knowledge that I am one with all has to be first before you start accepting the repulsion and attraction, or
No,
it happens.
actually,
It
they feed
happens
upon.
from my. Go
Sorry,
ahead.
yeah. Now they feed upon each other. You first start by accepting all, then automatically your hatred will be less. Or you know I am all. So it can start from both ways. One is it can start with this knowledge. So with knowledge, you start applying this in your life, or you start applying it in your life and the knowledge will come. So one is that through knowledge, I start accepting all. Other one, you externally, I accept all. And then slowly the wisdom will come. So they help each other. They feed upon each other. So you can start from inside or outside. Actually, they see do both. Inside
Right.
you have this knowledge, and outside you work on.
And the grief, the feelings of grief happens only when there is an attachment to an object or person or the situation, and which you do not have. Is
right. So what happened is that whenever I have something, and then sooner or later it will be taken away, right? Because this world is constantly changing. Somebody used to love me will not love me anymore, or something I used to like, it will get old, or I will lose it. So sooner or later, everything in this world will lead to sorrow. Everything, whether it's a person, a being, a situation, an object, a position, power, anything, ultimately you have to give it up. So it will lead to sorrow. That's if nothing else, the death is the final giving up, where you have to give up everything. So they say, give up everything before death. Give up means I am not dependent on these for happiness, and otherwise death will take it away, and then you'll be miserable. I don't know which class I talked about. In Sunday class, I talked about that those who are attached to objects, their death is very miserable because it's very hard for them. So just live very cheerfully. And that only happens when in this life I become independent of objects. I'm not dependent on objects, people, position, situation for happiness. I am happiness. I am bliss. That understand.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Arun, you have a question?
Yeah. In the same verse, last but one paragraph, he's mentioning about intellectual I and mental I. I'm not too clear about it.
Two eyes. Yeah.
Last but one paragraph.
Right. Yeah, the intellectual I may dislike. Yeah, see, because what happened is that I intellectually know something to be correct, right? that this is not good for me, but the mind wants to enjoy it. Like say I'm
Yes.
diabetic and I know sweets are not good for me. Intellectually, I know, but the mind says it's okay, you know, once in a while. So the intellect knows, but the mind does something different, or it could be anything. You know, I should not lie. I should not get angry. Intellectually, I know, but mind has no control. Mind does what it feels like. It gets angry.
So what is I? He's asking.
So there are two
Why?
eyes, the intellectual eye and the mental eye. That means the intellect eye knows what is correct, but the mental eye, which is actually one, the mind and intellect. But what they have done is divided the subtle body or the antakarna into four: intellect, mind, chit, and memory, and ahankar and memory. Mana, buddhi, chit, ahankar. Mind, intellect, ahankar is ego, and chitta is memory. So four: mana, buddhi, chit, ahankar. Mind, intellect, ego, and memory. So actually they have divided into four, but actually there is only one antakarna. But what Gurudev is saying, that when I intellectually know something, but when my mental part of my personality, intellectually I know, but the mental part of my personality doesn't, it's not congruent, they are not together, then it is as if there are two. Actually, it is one, but they are behaving as two. Is that clear?
I'll have to think about it a little bit more.
Yeah, because this intellectual I means I, the intellect, and the mental I means I, the mind. Actually, there are four aspects,
That
but
portion
I
understand.
intellectually know, but mentally I'm not that.
That portion I understand, all right. But here, what is he trying to say? I've got to read it a little bit more and maybe.
Yeah, so what he's saying is the intellectual I, even though I know it, but the mind is not listening, so I start hating the mind. Why is my mind not behaving? So dislike for the mind develops because the mind and intellect are not together. That is yoga, when the mind and intellect are together. It's like when there are two friends, then they like each other, but tomorrow the guy does something this one doesn't like, then he starts hating him. Oh, he was my friend for 20 years, and then he stabbed me in the back. So this friend now became an enemy. So the mind becomes an enemy of the intellect. That's what even in the Amrita Bindu Upanishad he says, Mana e manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. So mind is your friend and mind is your enemy. Bhagavan says in the 6th chapter also that the mind can be your friend or the mind can be your enemy. So pluralistic concept means we have created two. One is the intellect and one is the mind. And the mind doesn't listen to the intellect, so I hate it. But so you have to make it one. That is called pluralistic concept, that we have divided one into two. That is that little better?
Right, sure. Good, thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else wants to answer that question? Kusum, you have something?
I was just continuing the same thing from the book only, that for repulsion, the other is needed, another is needed. You cannot have repulsion with your own self. Something else is needed. That's why this intellect, mind and intellect, they are two. Not, if there's only one, intellect and mind, one functioning as one, there won't be any repulsion. So it says it requires two other to have repulsion. You cannot have repulsion when there is only one. So when we develop oneness, then there won't be any repulsion. And also it measures that it is the repulsion is enemy of our tranquility. So if we are more agitated, that means we have more repulsion. If we are less, and that is what Gurudev says there, but the enemy of this tranquility is your own jujutsa. So therefore, one can easily understand how much rehabilitation we have to do on our personality to develop that oneness. And the other thing is, you said that we have to learn this by heart. It's Gurudev also says it. And he said, why you have to learn it by heart is because this is the antidote for the mental poisons and agitations and intellectual unrest. So that's why if we learn this and put it in a practice, oneness, then we'll have our own tranquility and we'll have less agitations, less intellectual unrest. and more tranquil, going towards God, going towards our paths little further.
Yeah, thank you. Very well, she said. So only when there is an other, then we have hatred. But when there is one, then how can you withdraw from yourself? Jugupsa means withdrawal only can happen from another, cannot happen from myself. But when I see everything as me, then there is no jugupsa, there is no withdrawal, there is no. And then there is also not a dichotomy. There are not two, no other, as Kusum said so very well. Anything else? Any questions? Okay, we can do the closing prayer, and we'll do Purnamada because that is the Shanti mantra of this Upanishad. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you very much. Hari Om. See you next week.
Thank you.